All right, Algebra 2, we're continuing with the rest of our study guide for Chapter 1. So let's go ahead and continue on with our first piecewise functions. So all of these, as you can kind of tell down here, are all referencing the G function, which is this piecewise function up here. So keep in mind your stipulations here. It's your parameters, whatever you want to call that. It's x less than -4, x between -4 and -1, keeping in mind the underlines, the equal, and x greater than -1. So when you find your x value, figure out which one it belongs to. So this first one, number 16, belongs to -5, which is less than -4. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the top one. So g of -5 equals blank plus 4, and I plug in my number, -5. So -5 plus 4 is -1. Easy as that. And, excuse me, number 17 is -5/2. So fraction, if you don't know exactly what that is, use your calculator. That's going to be -2.5. So -2.5 is going to be right between -4 and -1. So that's going to be using that middle function. And so that's 2 parentheses plus 5. And when you plug that in, again, you can make that a decimal or better yet, work it out as a normal fraction, kind of figure out however you want to do that, or just use what you know about fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel the 2's, and so -5 is left over, plus 5, which is 0. Okay, so if you're using your ABC button on your calculator, or multiplying the tops together and the bottoms together, whatever you're doing to figure out that fraction will work. Okay. And so the next one, number 18, g of 6 is greater than -1. So that's going to be the bottom one. So g of 6 equals negative blank plus 3. And notice how I put that negative outside of the parentheses, and then you put in 6. So that's -6 plus 3, which is -3. Okay, so make sure we understand that negative is separate from the x here. So right here, you're just plugging in for x. That negative is a different part of it. Okay, so g of 0 is also greater than -1. So I'm going g of 0 equals negative blank plus 3, again plugging in 0. Well, -0 is still just 0, and add 3, you get 3. Okay. And so our last two, you got to be careful about number 20, because there's two -1s up there. So since g is of -1, here's -1 both times, but remember it's equal to -1. So you're going to use the middle function. Okay. So g of -1 equals 2 blank plus 5, plug in -1. So that's -2 plus 5, which is 3. Final answer. Okay. And so finally, -12. -12 is obviously the least number we've had. So we have less than -4. So g of -12 is going to use that top one, blank plus 4. So -12 plus 4, do the math there, and that's -8. Okay. So that is function notation, piecewise functions. Okay. So on to the next part. These are some graphs. Now the graphs, this is where you're going to kind of look at the graph and understand, where the x values are going, the y values are going, and what you're using for these first two is these are your x values. You got to find the y value that corresponds with it. So let's just start there. F of 0 means x value is 0, right in the middle. And you got to figure out what y value it goes to. Well, there's two y values that go with 0 in the middle, but this one's open, this one's closed. So I'm going to use the closed one, -1. Simple as that. Find your x value and then up or down to whatever y value it goes with. So 4 is right here, and it looks like I'm going up from there. So what y value goes with -4? Or sorry, +4, and that is 3. So 4 goes up to 3. That's all you're doing there. Y-intercept is asking you just where does it cross the y-axis. So here's your y-axis, and we actually have a point that we already used, which is -1. So 0, -1. Okay. And then finally, domain and range. Again, domain's referring to the x values, left and right. Range is using the y values, up and down. So domain has been pretty much the same every time for us so far. Won't be the same all the time, but if you're going left to right, this is going left forever and right forever. And this middle part is still included in one way or another. So that is still negative to positive infinity. Now for range, you're thinking how far down to how far up. Okay, so how far down is this going? Well, it's not going down forever. It doesn't go any lower than that. So I'm going -1, and then as you go up, this one's going up forever. So it really doesn't matter that this is a gap here. There is no gap because that purple one kind of takes care of it. So that goes up forever. Doesn't matter what's on the other side. All those y values from there on up are included. And then -1 should be a bracket because that's a closed circle. Okay? So kind of the same thing on number 23. Let's look at the f of -3 first. So -3 is right here. So it looks like we're going down to here. Okay? So we've got -2. And then -1 is right here. And again, that's open. We want the one that's closed, which is right there at 3. There we go. And so the y-intercept, again, is where it crosses the y-axis, which is at 4. So 0, 4. And then domain and range, once again. These are supposed to be arrows, but those are going on forever. And in the middle, that is included one way or another, so that x is never going to stop. Now, what about the y? So again, think how far down to how far up. Well, here it's going down forever. So I start at the bottom, go up, and it looks like we stop right here. So you can see that's a gap right here. So that's where we're going to use that union. So it stops at what y value? That's 0. And that 0 is not included right there as this open circle. So that is a parentheses, union. And then it starts back up at 3. So 3, it is included because it's closed, so bracket. And then it goes up from there, so infinity once again. Okay? That's how you use that union. Anytime there's a gap. Understand, this is not a gap because the purple one's included between those two dots. This one has no y values. That is a gap with nothing between them. Okay? So let's go to the bottom here. Pretty much the same scenario. We have -3. Looks like -3 is right here. So the one that's included is up here. Looks like that's going to be 7. And 2 is right here. So that looks like it's going to be right here, which is -3. Okay. And then y-intercept, it crosses about right there, which is +1, so 0, 1. And domain, left to right forever again. Nothing really weird there. And then range, again, think bottom to top. So these arrows are pointing downward, so it's going down forever. And when it goes up, it stops right here, but it really doesn't. See, again, that's not actually a gap between the y values because it's included on this one. Okay, so don't stop there. Keep going, and then it doesn't go higher than right there, which is 7 included. Okay, and so let's go ahead and look at number 25 here. We've got -2, so -2 is right here. Going to go up, and it looks like the y value is going to be right there at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then +2 is right here. It's going to go up to the one that's closed, which is 4. Okay. There's that. Y-intercept, where's it cross? And that's right there at 5, so 0, 5. And then our domain, once again, it's going left and right forever. Range, again, how far down is this going? This is not going down forever. The first y value we see is right there. And that's a flat line, so we're just going to use the one number, which is 3. So 3, but then it stops. 3 is the only y value included there. So 3, and then we have a gap. Once again, look at that gap right there. There's nothing between those two dots, so we skip to 4, also included. And then that goes up to infinity. The reason this one's included, even though this is an open circle, is because these y values over here still exist. So that is included somewhere on the graph. Okay, and so let's go to the back side here and finish this out. I'm gonna show this separately, actually, just to make the video a little shorter. So if you want to see this one on the answer key, just look at the answer key, and we'll talk about that in class. Number 27, however, is one that can be a little tricky, but again, you just want to make sure to understand what it's asking. So which of the following expressions is equal to 5 for some value of x? Okay, so what that's really saying is which one of these could be 5? Could be equal to 5. So what you want to do is just set them equal to 5 and see which one's possible. So for this one, set that equal to 5 and then solve. So the way we've been solving in class is get this by itself by subtracting 1. That's negative parentheses, or not parentheses, absolute value equals 4. Got to get rid of this by dividing. Oops, not 4. By -1, and that's absolute value equals -4. Well, what you got to understand is absolute value has to equal a positive number. So this one already is not right. So I'm not actually solving it. I'm just saying, is it going to be equal to a positive number? Okay. So same thing here. Let's do this one. We've got equal to 5, and let's solve it. So subtract 4. I've got negative absolute value equals 1. Again, I have to get rid of that negative by dividing by -1. That's absolute value equals -1. Again, not okay. So that one's out. So see, let's try again. We've got equal to 5. Let's see. Add 4 to both sides. That's x plus 1 in the absolute value equals 9. That's a positive, so that's good. But, you know, there's more than one option. I just want to make sure that's the only one that is positive. So let's go over here and try this one. And you kind of see the same pattern. This is negative absolute value equals 4. Divide by -1. And once again, it's absolute value equals a negative. So again, not okay. So the only answer that is possible for some value of x is C. We don't have to know what value of x, just which one's possible. Okay, and so that's it. That's it for that one. And again, this one we'll talk about in class, and it'll be on the answer key. Okay, so use that as you wish, and we'll talk soon.